Welcome to the Top 200 podcast with your host, Herschel Fawn.
What's up, everybody? It's Herschel Fawn from High School Top 200, and this is the Monday morning meeting. Welcome back once again. My name is Herschel Fawn, and I run High School Top 200. If you are new here, jump on all my platforms that I have on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and even on YouTube. Subscribe and like and comment, all that kind of stuff, which helps the algorithm and all that. And if you want to take a look at rankings that have been set, throughout this whole year, jump on hstop200.com. $5 subscription. I'll still be posting up a lot of stuff all the way to the end of the year and even into next year as well. But everything is done for the year, I guess. All first 15 rugby is finished. We've got a lot of reps going on, which I'll be going to as well. I've seen there's like a lot of I'm waiting for the under 16s Hurricanes one. Also, I'm looking at trying to get to the Chiefs one, which is a pretty good one too. But the Hurricanes one I really want to get to, try and find out where it is so I can go start making some plans, see what happens. But I think everyone's kind of waiting to see what I say about the New Zealand secondary schools. And if you know, and if you've followed my page for like the last 10 years, I always choose and select my secondary schools, my own opinions of secondary schools, at least a week or so ahead. I just made it because I don't really know when they're doing it because I'm not a selector or anything like that. But I put it out just a day before they put theirs out. And obviously, I don't really need to explain, I guess, who I thought should have made it and who shouldn't have, because my teams are obviously different. I think the biggest one, like, you're always going to get year 12s, right? The year 12s are always going to be a part of New Zealand secondary schools, whether it's 1 or 2 or maybe 5. I think one year I've seen 5 is the most that I've seen before. And I've never thought that you would see, nowadays, I never thought you would see a year 11 in there. And I'd said on here before a few times about Nico Stanley making the top 200, being ranked in the top 200, because he's a freaking awesome player. He really is. And he's already physically built, he's already physically fast and all that kind of stuff, and strong, and reads the game really well. His defense is probably like his biggest asset right now. And the more and more he gets into it, the more his offensive game will take over. And I kind of question this pick only because he's year 11. Now, if Australians, if you guys are hearing this, year 11 here is your guys' year 10. So, a year 10 making your guys Australian secondary schools. And so, Nico making New Zealand secondary schools as year 11 means that for the next 2 years, he has to make the New Zealand secondary schools for 3 times, 3 times over the next 3 years. And to my memory, I think the only ones that did it, I remember Bina Tinga, I think probably was one, who was also a grandma boy. And then I think Hika Elliott was the only other one that made it 3 times. I think those two were the only other ones that I can remember. And I might be wrong, but I'm sure I remember seeing their names 3 times. Now, for me, in all honesty, I have a feeling that the pressures will be on him. Like, even though this is a great selection for him, and it's a good milestone for him and his family, and all the hard work he's put into it. But at the same time, I mean, if you talk to the year 12s, and there have been year 12s that have made New Zealand secondary schools in year 12, and then miss out in year 13. And if you talk to those boys, there was a pressure of actually making it. Like, obviously, Charlie Sinton was the other one that from last year that was, I guess, trying to make it again this year. Now, you're asking Nico to do it for the next 2 years. And that may weigh heavy on him, of that burden of that expectation. Like Ollie Gurin, I think you could have had an argument for him making it last year too as a year 11, but I'm glad they didn't. I'm glad they just put him in the New Zealand Barbarians instead of having him make it as a year 11. Because then he would have to make it for this year and then have to make it next year. Now you could automatically say, well, he made it this year too. It's just like, okay, now he's got to make it next year. There's guys that have made it in year 12 and not made it in year 13. Now, if that happens to be what Nico is, you're kind of putting him on this pedestal to sort of go, well, now you have to make it for the next 2 years. Making it 1 year is hard enough. And I'm even talking to these guys who are year 12, like, Jake Hutchinson and Liam van der Hayden, like those guys. Obviously, Ollie, and then Siale Paulu is the other one as well. And I think it's like a hard thing for guys to achieve just 1 year. But for Nico, making it year 13, making it year 11, then he has to make it next year, and then he has to make it the year after. Just based off you just don't want it to be, I guess, for him, or for any player, like you're taking a step backwards because you made it 1 year, you didn't make it the next. And that can be pretty disheartening as well as a player. I guess trying to prove yourself, and I feel like this is kind of, I mean, people may say if you're good enough, then you're good enough, but he's 15. He's a 15-year-old kid playing against 17 and 18-year-olds, and not just like any, like these are the best that Australia has coming over. And you may think it's all well and good, but the boy's still only 15. I actually don't even care how physically built he is, because he's still just 15. And I think putting that into perspective of what a 15-year-old is, and then just like sort of the physical side of it, but then also the emotional side of it, and expectation wise, it's pretty hard. I think it's pretty hard. Because there's so many other players out there. There's so many other players they could have picked. And I'm happy for him, because he's my number one ranked year 11, and he's no doubt got the talent, because there's just so much that he can do. But then now there's already an expectation put on him as a 15-year-old. And yeah, I don't know. I hope he has a lot of strong support around him. That can, I guess, reassure him of what he is and what he can do, and that failures are going to be failures and successes are going to be successes. But then every Saturday you take the field. In preseason you have a good preseason, and all your training, training sessions are always going to be the hardest work you're going to put into, things like that. I hope that he has all that stuff around him, because this is going to be a hard ask for him. It's going to be a hard ask for him to go out and continue it every single game next year, and then for the games after that, the year after. And even in terms of like the selections itself, like I understand all the selections that they've put, everyone that they've picked. I mean, because I see all the talent that they've put down. I like the talents that they have. I think there's like one player in here that maybe I don't have in my top 200, but my top 200 is all opinion based anyway. And other people see what other people have and don't have, and then you've got a criteria and a list of talents and attributes that you want in those positions when you get picked for New Zealand secondary schools. And I guess that whoever was selecting them ticked off all the boxes, and that's why they're there. It's always like controversial in terms of like New Zealand secondary schools, because they don't pick the best players. They pick a game plan, then they pick players that fulfill that game plan that they need fulfilled. And so that's where all these picks come out of, and the only thing I didn't like about this, and I'm not too sure why, maybe like a scheduling thing, but the under 18 regions haven't even played. I think the Blues only played against themselves. The Chiefs play the Samoan team, which I'm going to talk about after, and I think the Chiefs also, or is it the Crusaders, come and play the Hurricanes, but that's not until later. Now, I haven't even seen the Hurricanes team yet. I know that the boys have been selected and they've been called and told that they made it, but I haven't seen a team out. But my thing is, it's like, man, why can't you get all these boys to play against each other, at least against each other, to find out, who all the standout boys are? I mean, it's cool that, they've gone through their tapes and all that kind of stuff, but these selectors haven't watched these kids over the whole year. They just watched, certain bits and pieces of these tapes and highlight films. Like, I guarantee they haven't gone through all these boys, footage from this year. Because at least, if you take someone like, I'll take the Locks, you're going to be watching at least 10 to 12 different locks, and then watching all their games is like, I don't know if they've gone through all their games or gone through, things, heaps of snippets, stuff like that. But it will be hard to find all the centers and the second fives and, play all that kind of stuff. But anyways, I'll be out there watching their games, because it's all going to be here at St. Paul's, and then I think they have some curtain raisers, I think, against when the Waikato plays, and then they end up playing the Australian side. But yeah, it'll be cool to see. It'll be cool to see all the combinations that they've put together, a lot of I want to see how they organize that front row. I know I like the way that, I think when you look at the loose forwards, like O'Keefe, I don't know if Bradley Tucker, they're playing him as a wing, as a lock or a blindside. B. Gira would be the other one. Aiden Spratley is probably going to be maybe the open side, I think. Maybe open side, because they got Jake, who Hutchings will play, who can play blind, unless Salmaki's going number 8, or Ao keeps playing number 7 along with Aiden, because Bede will be a lock, Bradley will be a lock, I guess Finn McLeod will be a lock. Yeah. I'm actually surprised that they got 3 Christchurch boys players in there. I thought that was kind of a lot. I'm glad Jake made it. Even James Moore, I'm really glad he made it too. Props was a big one because we got a lot of props in here. Obviously, there's props that I thought should have been here that weren't included, or they were named in other teams and whatever. But even Thomas Jennings, who's like a real big dude, like he's a big guy. I can understand why they picked him, like just his brute strength and his bulk and his work rate around rucks. Solid, really solid in scrums. I think it'll be interesting to see how him and Liam pack down together. I like that. Obviously, with like Tavita Tatafu, like his athleticism around the field is going to be one that plays into it. Seeing how he goes in the tight stuff, and he put himself into dark places and get some turnovers, because like Charlie Wallace is the other one as well at prop, who from Auckland Grammar, who I like a lot, and I've always kind of liked him just as around the field play. Runs it hard. I like that. I like his energy that he brings on too. So yeah, all that kind of stuff. It's going to be interesting to see what other packs out. Like, hopefully they'll let me like watch your trainings. The other times that they didn't. Other times they were saying that I couldn't take photos or take film, which was understandable. And then after a while, they just said, "Oh, you can't be here." So I just said, "Oh well." Oh well. So whenever they turn up for trainings at St. Paul's, hopefully I can be out there and just at least sit and watch, and then I'll just give my report after, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. In terms of the other teams, I think like the only thing that bugs me about the New Zealand Barbarians and under 18 Māoris is that the under 18 teams and they're not under 18 schools teams, and I feel like these teams should just be school teams. I feel like once you leave school, I think it should cut you out of it. I mean, because all these guys that are being picked from university, or guys that have come from like jobs and stuff like that, they're all playing, Premier Rugby. They're all playing against, men, stuff like that. A lot of them are in jobs and stuff like that. That's the other thing I couldn't understand. Is like, man, so you select these guys and you take them away from their university studies and take them away from their apprenticeships and their jobs, and they have to go and ask for days off and I guess extensions if they have like assignments and things like that. I was thinking, man, it's kind of hard to ask for these guys. But I mean, I just think it's kind of an unfair advantage, I think boys, when you're at school, think about it a lot more as a goal to reach, rather than a guy who's already left school. And I'm not too sure if a lot of them are trying to I don't think a lot of them have set those goals to make a New Zealand Barbarians. I think a lot of them have set their goals to make the under 19s rather than New Zealand Barbarians and the under 18 Māoris. I mean, I think a perfect example is like Malachi Rampling. I think when he made New Zealand Barbarians, which was so unfair because that dude was just running through everybody, and he had just found this other gear. And in all honesty, I actually think he was the best player there, even better than all the New Zealand secondary school players, because he was like young enough to come back. And I think if you're going to do something like that, I think you should pick a totally separate, different team. And it's just a team full of guys that are not school guys, but leave the New Zealand Barbarians to school teams and leave the under 18 Māoris to school teams, and then to school players, and then pick a whole separate other team. And really and really put an emphasis on this other team for those who, because most of these guys are pretty much under 19s anyway. So I think it's kind of weird that they have these boys who have left school already they've already left and finished school, left it behind and all that kind of stuff, but then they'll coming back to make an under 18 side which is full of schoolboys when they've already got under 19s there, and pretty much at the same time too, because all the under 19 squads are playing now. And I don't know what the priority is. Like, is the priority the Barbarians team that they've made, or the under 18 Maldives team, or is the priority the under 18, the under 19 Waikato or Northland Waikato or Northland under 19s or Wellington under 19s? Like, is what takes priority? And for that player, what takes priority? Like, I just imagine that someone like, Micah Fale, who was at St. John's last year, could have come back to school this year, playing for the he plays for under 19s Waikato, but he's also picked for Barbarians. Like, is priority by Barbarians, or is he looking at under 20s Chiefs? Because his under 19s performance is going to be, directed at making that Chiefs, which I have no doubt think that he's going to make anyway. I think sometimes the priority is a bit different. Your goal setting is a bit different when you leave school. And I don't necessarily think that a lot of these guys that have left school are setting that as a goal to make under 18s Maldives or under 18s Barbarians. I know there's some kids out there, but I think for the majority, a lot of them are probably not looking at that. They're looking at, Manawatū under 19s or Southland under 19s. I think because that shows a lot more when it comes to being picked for the under 20s for your region, because that's kind of what you're gunning for as well, and hoping you get named into those under 20s. But I don't know, I just think that it takes away from a lot of those spots that kids that are at school could also plan. Because I think, with the Māori side, there's four? Oh no. Six? Is there 6 players from... Yeah, I think there's 6 players in the under 18 Māoris that are from universities. And I think from the Barbarians there's 8. Something like that. Around that kind of number. But yeah. I don't know. I just think it's personally kind of strange. I think it's a bit strange that I think the other thing that was kind of strange too is that St. Kennigan's had one rep player, which is Siale Pahulu, who is the only one from St. Kennigan's that got selected. Yet they made the finals for the 1B. I thought that was kind of strange. But mind you, I think Riley will probably be a big one next year. I always think that Riley's probably a pretty solid player to bring in. I think Junior will probably be another one next year too. Junior Slade, and this is He's the lock, who I think is probably around 6'7", 6'8", something like that. Jancy would be another one, I think, like those kind of guys. There'll probably be a bunch of guys next year that will be picked, because I remember St. Kinnigan's had a lot of year 12s and a lot of year 11s in their team. You know, a few year 13s. But yeah, they'll be pretty interesting to see. I know this is not probably going to be everyone's topic, because really it's just my annoyance of Samoan rugby. Samoan rugby, and I don't know if it's like it's got to be I guess it's got to be a financial thing, right? Like if you follow like our under-20s, right? Our under-20s Samoan they were over in that second competition where they played like Scotland and Japan and stuff like that. They're the ones that didn't make it into the main under-20s World Cup. But man, we got smoked by Scotland, and we lost to the Netherlands as under-20s. Our under-20s lost to the Netherlands, you know? And I mean, obviously when I saw the team and I saw who they selected, and then I kind of really didn't know any of the names that were in the team. So what I did, obviously, I went and like looked up all the boys that were in, and obviously a lot of them were guys that were local fellas, like from Samoa, and that's fine. That's fine if that's what, you know, if that's what they're looking for. They just want those local guys. That's whatever. But at the same time, and this is where my annoyance comes, is like, you still got Samoans in New Zealand. You still got Samoans in Australia. And you can't pick everybody. Like, New Zealand can't pick everyone. I think I counted around I think there were 12 Samoans that weren't selected in the New Zealand under-20s. I think there was like 12 Samoans that were in these rosters for the under-20s that were not picked for New Zealand under-20s. And I don't understand why they weren't approached, or maybe they were. I don't know. But if that was me in the Samoan Rugby Union, I would be ringing up these guys and ringing up their agents and ringing up, you know, their provinces, and just going, hey, what's with these guys? How can we have them even just come with us? We're not going to sign them for, you know, their whole under-20s career. If they want to come back and play for New Zealand the next year, you know, fine. But like, you've got to at least ask. I had a look at even like the guys that were in the under-19s here in New Zealand that didn't make, you know, even those under-20s teams. It's like, surely, like even some of these high school kids, man, like I would have even got some of these high school kids from New Zealand that were Samoans and go, hey, if you're allowed, and if we ask the you know, the proper channels, you know, why not ask them to jump in? Because if we're losing to the Netherlands under-20s, come on now. We've got too many Samoans playing rugby here in New Zealand and Australia that we can't afford to just let our country get smoked by these countries that don't even really play rugby. And that's cool if you want to reward them with under 20s, caps and stuff like that, and getting picked for us. It's like, but these guys know that when they come home, just like our under 20s in New Zealand did when they didn't do well over in South Africa the other years of under 20s, those players get embarrassed. Those players now have to ask. They have to answer these questions of like, bro, what happened to you fellas? Sometimes Samoans can be ruthless, man. Especially the ones from the islands, they'll be ruthless. Like, you useless guy. Come back here, go lose to those guys over there. The guys from the Netherlands. It's like, bro, those guys don't even really play rugby. Now, in saying that, I wish, and I'm going to put out my own team anyway, but I wish if I had the funding, or if I had guys that wanted to back that up, I would pick my own my own under 18 Samoan team from New Zealand, just New Zealand-based players alone, to play against the Samoan secondary schools that comes over. I would love to put a team together, and these are guys that haven't made under the New Zealand secondary schools. They haven't made New Zealand Barbarians, or they're not in the Māori team who are like part Samoan, part Māori. These are guys that are not part of those teams. I'm going to pick my own team and put it out. And I would love to put a team together like that to play the Samoan secondary schools. Because I feel like our Samoans are better than their Samoans. I'm not saying every player that we have in New Zealand that's Samoan is better than those guys, not at all. But I'm saying our top Samoans are better than them. I mean, even like Zinzan Liatua, like from Christ College, I would have him gladly on the team. I mean, look at PJ Smith. He's another one. Front row from De La Salle. He's another one. Even Leo Burgess from here, like I'll put him in my team. From St. John's. There's a bunch of these guys. And they're from like all over the country. But I just have this thing that's just like, if you're going to pick guys from New Zealand to play Manu Samoa, why don't you have it open for everybody else? I know that they had some under 20 players play for them too. James Singer's like another real talented guy who was a halfback, and he played in those teams over there. I guarantee you guys, his mates were asking him, bro, what the hell happened over there? Like, I know guys like that were from New Zealand that played in these teams, but I mean, to me personally, you can't have too many of these guys who are from Samoa that don't play at the level that we play at here in New Zealand. Not all of them can represent, going over to these under 20. Like, we should be in the main under 20s. I mean, they had like Spain. Was it Spain in the other under 20s, in the main under 20s? You're saying we can't beat Spain? Well, of course you're saying we can't beat them because we can't even beat Netherlands. And I'm not even just saying that just for Samoa. I'm saying that for Tonga as well. Tongan, there's so many Tongan players here. I'm sure they should have a group of Samoans here that represent, Lakapi Samoa, and that keep an eye on talent here. I mean, if they don't, I can understand why we're like this as a rugby union, but it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. We got smoked by the Netherlands, and I think Scotland put like 100 points on us. That will never happen at the Manu Samoa level. We know that even at that Manu Samoa level, they have massive problems trying to get guys to stay in there. And we all know who the problem is. It's that old fella that takes over. We all know that he's the problem. But there has to be other ways around it. There has to be a difference at under 18 level, at under 19 level, at under 20s level. And then putting these guys in those positions and situations to play overseas and play in front of these teams to get some of our Samoan players to play overseas as well. Not everyone's going to make it here in New Zealand. If it was me, I would try and get them into the 20s and try and get them seen by other countries and other teams, and then get them over there into those systems, and then hopefully, because that's all you can do is just hope that they still stick with Manu Samoa at the end of the day. You know, like they kind of do that here with Samoans, like Samoans here in New Zealand. I mean, I guess, but if you're playing, rugby in New Zealand, your goal is to be an All Black. And then if not, you would hope that they would want to play for Manu Samoa, but because they have their financial problems with Manu Samoa, I can understand why these guys don't. But look how many Samoa players that play in the Super Rugby that don't even make All Blacks and have probably come to the end of the line of making All Blacks, but they still don't want to play for Samoa. I mean, the pay cut is also another thing that, that happens with New Zealand rugby, but at the same time, it's like, man, that's why World Cup sucks sometimes. Like, we don't have the best players showing up because of, contract issues and nationality issues and race issues, and saying, man, just let all the best players go and let them play for who they want to play for. It's weird. But I'm going to put my own team out. I'm going to put my team out. Because I always have my own opinions. I mean, I watch so much rugby, it's just like, yeah, I know a lot of them too. I know there's a lot of players out there. I mean, I would have hard out had Max Foley play, but I mean, he got picked up. I mean, I would have put Nico Stanley in my Samoan team, but obviously he got picked up for New Zealand secondary schools. Whanua was another one that I looked at, but he got picked up. But I mean, there's a lot of them, like Butsy that plays for St. Peter's here in Cambridge. Charisma is another one. Charisma Faitala. PJ Palamo is probably another one. Yeah, there's heaps of them. Somme Wolf, Patrick Bonga. There's heaps of guys. Even Zeph Lewis from Dilworth. Like Zach Telupapa, he's like another one. Preston from Silverstream, like those guys. I mean, Manaya from down in Otago Boys, he'll be another one. Like all these guys, like there's so many of them. Like JJ, I'll pick up 100%. I mean, I don't know what their deal was with not selecting JJ, but it's like, man, if you watch Super 8s, it's like, I don't know how you guys missed out on that. There's heaps of players like that. I mean, like I was talking about Slade before would be another one. Even like Mike Brown. Mike Brown's another one from Hastings Boys, who's the halfback. It's like real interesting player, eh? Real aggressive. Genesis kind of like that too from De La Salle. Jalon, he's another one. I like TJ as well. TJ from King's College, and even like Perez Malo from Lindisfarne. He's like another one too that I thought about a lot. I mean, I got a lot of. Where's my list is over here. There's heaps of them. Like even like Noah Yuasa. He's like another one that I thought of. Benjamin was another one from St. Kitts, and I don't know why he doesn't get picked up. He's like a big time second five, Malachi is another one from like Tawa. Like him and Mako from Tawa College, like both of them are just mean players. Chaniela, another one from Purirua College, big time. And I just don't know why. I don't know why they wouldn't be considered or why they miss out. But I mean, for me, if I was picking a team, like all these kind of guys I would have in there. And these are guys to me are just like high rep players anyway. But I mean, got to do something with it. I mean, like even Tongans have so many different players in Tongan team too. And Fijians, we're getting there with a lot more Fijians playing first 15 rugby, and not even just Fijians that have been brought over as recruits, but just Fijians that we have here anyway. You know, a lot of them are making it through. I even think there should be like an Asian one to have, like, you know, the Japanese players that we have, the ones from Hong Kong, those international players that we get here. Sometimes, you know, I've seen some Indian and Pakistani brethren running around in some of these teams too, who also should be, you know, looked at and go, well, why don't we build these fellas up? Or where's their representation so that they can also go back to these other countries and go, hey, I play here in New Zealand and this is what I learned, and this, you know, this is how good I am and what I can do. And, you know, I don't understand why we don't help those guys out too. I'm not saying to give them like the best thing, is like, but put them in some rep sites. Put them some rep sites together. But yeah. I'm going to start doing some, I don't know if I'm going to do teams, sort of team reviews for the year, or if I'm going to do competition reviews for the year. Because I want to talk about each team. I want to talk about more in-depth players in these teams that I just didn't have time to put in for all these players. I mean, like, think about it. I watch over 120, I follow about 120 teams around the country to get my top 100 rankings. And I think I almost saw 120, no, it would have been about 110 teams play of like some sort. And that's from trying to find footage on Facebook where it's just a parent has gone live. I've even watched ones like that. And so I was able to see a lot of teams like that. I mean, like, remember I've seen all the way down to Waitaki boys, Wakatipu. Wakatipu, I think I've seen 5 times this year. Waitaki, I saw about 7 games of these this year. Even South Otago, I saw about that many games. Menzies, I saw twice. Otago and, you know, Southland boys, I saw those guys a bunch of times this year. Even King's High School, I saw about 5 or 6 times this year. I saw everybody in the, you know, Miles Toyota Premiership. I saw a bunch of them. At least everybody 5-6 times of their games. And yeah, even like Wellington and that, I saw most of theirs. I think North Harbour was probably one of the hardest ones because I watched all the Whangarei boys. The coverage that I saw of them was so good. Like I was able to see so many of their games. Westlake as well was the other one I saw a lot of. Rosmini, I saw a few of them just through Rosmini, you know, connections, things like that. Auckland was probably one of the hardest, but I managed to see a bunch of their games. You know, like, I don't know what Auckland's doing. It's really annoying, to be honest. But I want to try and do like individual teams. Maybe I'll pick like 5 teams for one video and just do a rundown sort of in depth, and like games that I liked, games that I saw, that I thought turned a season, or where I thought something slumped, or, you know, a string of games where I didn't like, or players and connections that through rosters and stuff that I thought worked out well. All those kind of things, guys that came from the bench that always made this real good impact. You know, and there's a reason why they call them impact players. I mean, I say the bench all the time just because that's what I grew up in. Like, that's what we called it all the time. Like I still call them touchies. I think most of them people call them touchies when you're supposed to say, I don't know, line judge or whatever it's called. But impact player is exactly what guys are that come off the bench are just impact players, and there's a lot of these impact guys off the bench that change a game or that keep that momentum going. And I think there's a lot of times where we don't acknowledge how much the bench matters, because in these bigger games the bench matters a lot. I mean, I think in the Hamilton boys game, in that finals against Nelson, you saw how much the bench mattered in that Hamilton boys game, because those fellas coming off the bench made that real they made that real impact to keep that level of intensity up on that side. And because they hang their hat on fitness a lot of times with Hamilton boys, it's hard to keep up with that pace. It's hard to keep up with that pace. And like even someone for like Liam van der Hayden, who's like real big massive kid, if he wasn't fit enough and they said he wasn't fit enough, I don't care how good he is, he would not be on that team. He would not be starting. He would not be he would be done in the second 15 if he wasn't fit enough. So like even just seeing him in that team starting, that he's done his work to stay fit enough to stay within that team and even start. And look where it's kind of got him. It's like that kind of situation. But yeah, like I think the bench matters a lot. Matters a lot in these big games, matters a lot in the big teams. And I think if a lot of teams worked around not just having like your best players start, but having your best combinations start, or having your best combinations come off the bench and at certain times, and maybe if you do them in 2s or 3s, because those are the combinations that you want out there to maybe either solidify your win or creep up those points to get your win. Things like that. I don't know. Everyone's got different ways of thinking about coaching and how they want to put their team together. But yeah, that's what I'm looking at with what's coming up in these next weeks. I'm still going to try and get to some of these rep games, and I'll give some rundowns and stuff like that on these games as well. So have a look there. Mainly going to under 16s, because those are the guys who I know are all coming back. There's going to be some under 18 guys that are all going to come back, because some of them are year 12s and whatever, but most of them under 16s games I want to come and see, because I want to see these guys who are returning as year 12s or year 11 or year 11s or year 12s or year 13s. So yeah, anyways, that's the pod. Thank you for joining in, and yeah, keep going strong. You only got a few more weeks for the term, a few more weeks for the year. Then some of your year 13s are gone. Hang out with some men with kids with real problems, and yeah, adult life is going to kick you in the face. Honestly, it sucks sometimes. No, it sucks a lot. I'd rather be at school. Anyways, love you all. Later, ball.